Okay, hello everybody. This is week 9 tutorial 8 recordings for bu1003 and bu1903. We have 5 questions here and we will go through them one by one. First one, the role of money. Oops. Okay, consider the following scenario. Sulita just finished from the university and is now in the market for a new car. She has saved up to $2,000 for deposit. She is deciding between the Super and Duper. The Super is priced at $23,599. The Duper is priced at $18,799. After agonizing over the decision, she decides to buy the Duper. She writes the dealers a check for $2,000 and takes out a loan for the remainder of the purchase price. Identify what role money plays in each of the following parts of the history of the story. So, Sulita has saved $2,000 in a check account. So now this is a store of value. So now Sulita can transfer the purchasing power of this $2,000 from today to the future. Sulita can easily determine that the price of the Super is more than the price of Duper. So now this money is used as yardstick. So it's unit of count. Sulita writes a check for $2,000. So this is, in doing so, Sulita using this $2,000 as medium of exchange. So that's question 1. Question 2. Personal possession of currency is prohibited in the U.S. prisons, although in practice prisoners still exchange goods and services. American prisoners used cigarettes as a medium of exchange until smoking was banned in the U.S. prisons in 2003. After 2003, prisoners looked to other items on the commissary menu to facilitate exchange. In 2008, the Wall Street Journal reported that energy bars had caught on as money in some American prisons. Outside of U.S. prisons, people use the U.S. dollar for day-to-day transactions. One important difference between using energy bars and using dollars as money is that energy bar has intrinsic values, while U.S. dollars, they are fiat monies. So energy bar is a commodity money, an example of commodity money. Okay, question 2. Question 3. The Reserve Bank of Australia's The governor and deputy governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia are appointed on the recommendation of the government by the Governor General. Which of the following statements about RBA is true? Historically, RBA practiced prudential supervision by monitoring each bank's financial condition. This is actually true, because later on this role was taken up by APRA, Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority. The Reserve Bank of Australia acts as a lender of last resort, lending to financially troubled banks when necessary. The Reserve Bank has never facilitated merger and acquisition of troubled banks by other banks. Okay, so let's answer prudential supervisions. Okay, that's question 3. Question 4. The money creation process. Imagine high street banks, Second Commonwealth Bank and Third Fidelity Bank chooses to keep 25% of all current deposits as reserves. So reserve ratio is 25%. Central Bank of frictional country of Vanuatu buys a government bond worth of 1.8 million from Jack, a client of High Street Bank. He deposits the money into his check account at High Street Bank. So now the central bank pump in $1.8 million of cash. On the asset side of High Street Bank's T account, before the bank makes any new loan, this increase. Okay, there's no new loan yet, so this increase High Street Bank's current deposit by $1.8 million. On the liabilities and the owner's equity side of the High Street Bank's T account, this increased the High Street Bank's liability by 1.8 million. Because the reserve ratio is 25%, at 1 million deposit, the amount that High Street Bank can then increase the amount that High Street Bank can lend by 75% of 1.8 million. So it is $1.8 multiplied by times 0.75, 1.35, and increase High Street Bank reserve by 400. 1.8 multiplied by 0.25, 450,000. Alright, now imagine High Street Bank loans out the remainder of the deposit after keeping $25,000 for it to reserve for reserves to Allison, who immediately buys the funds to write a check to Larry, and Larry deposits the funds immediately into his check account at Second Commonwealth Bank. Then Second Commonwealth Bank lends out the remainder of the deposit after keeping the 25% of it for reserves to Steve, who writes a check to Janice, who deposited the money into her account at the Third Fidelity Bank. Third Fidelity Bank lends out the remainder of the deposits after keeping 25% of it for reserves as well. Fill in the following tables show the effect of this ongoing chain of events at each of the banks. Enter each answer to the nearest penny. So High Street Bank increase the deposit 1.8. million. Increase in reserve 450,000. Increase in loans $1.35 million. And Second Commonwealth Bank. So this $1.35 million is deposited by Larry. So 135 Then Second Commonwealth Bank reserve 25% of this. So which is 337,500. And the rest is the loan. So it's 1.01, just slightly over 1 million. And this is deposited into Third Fidelity Bank. Again, 25% of this is reserved. So which is 253,125. The rest is loan out. So which is 759, 375. Okay, assume this process continues with each successive loan deposits in a check account. Under this assumption, the initial 1.8 million deposits leads to an additional and current deposit, causing so we know that in the end the total money is 1.8 million divided by the reserve ratio. Reserve ratio is 25%. So causing the money supply. So altogether, the money supply in the economy is $6 million. So the no, 1.8 divided 4. Together is 7.2 and is 7.2 minus 1.8, so which is 5.4. Okay, so let's question 4. Let's check. Oh, there's 1 point here. Increase the bank's reserves. Okay, so now before any loan is made, so this 1.8 million is all reserved. Okay. Alright, so that's question 4. Question 5. Money supply adjustment to monetary equilibrium. The following table shows a money demand schedule, which is the quantity of money demanded at various price level in the frictional economy of ZAP. Begin by filling in the value of money column. So value of money is just inverse the price. 1.33. 1 divided by 0.75, and 1 here, 1 divided by 1.5, so it's 0.67, 0.33. Now consider the relationship between the price and the quantity of money that people demand. The lower the price level, less money, the less money the typical transaction requires, and the less money people will wish to hold in the form of currency or current deposits. Okay, assume that Reserve Bank of Zap initially fixed the quantity of money supplied at $4 billion. Use the orange line label. So initially, to plot the initial money supply set by the Reserve of Zap, then referring to the initial to the table of line to grow up money anchor. So initially it's 4 billion. So it's 4 billion. This is policy variable. Okay, that's money supply, money demand. So if it is value of money is 1.33, the demand is 2 billion. Value of money is 1. Demand is equal to 2.5. Oops. So this is wrong. This. When the value of money is 1.33, quantity of demand is 2 billion. So 1 quantity of demand is 2.5, and 1.67 is 4. .33 is 8. Okay, so that's money demand. According to your graph, the equivalent value of money is equivalent value of money is 0.67. Equivalent price level is 1.5. Now imagine the Reserve Bank of Zap reduces money supply from the initial level of 4 billion to 2.5 billion. Okay. In order to reduce the money supply, Reserve Bank can use open market operation to sell or buy bond. Buy bond, sell bond, you pay me money, I take money out of the economy, so it's sell bond. Use the red line to label the new money supply curve, so it's 2.5 billion. Okay, that's the new money supply curve. At the initial equivalent value of money and the price level, the quantity of money supply, is now less than the quantity of money demanded. This contraction in the money supply will reduce reduced people's demand for goods and services. And in the long run, since the economy's ability to produce goods and services has not changed, the price of goods and services will fall, and the value of money will increase. Okay, this is question 5. Okay, that's all about the tutorial of this week.